Oh my God, it's a giant. Bro, there's just no way that just happened right now. What's going on, guys? It's Cutcarrycast podcast, episode 14, and we have my buddy Mark back on the podcast. For those of you guys that listened to his first episode on the show, we talked about him getting ready for a tournament, and we wanted to bring it into fruition, and we said, hey, when you win that thing, you're going to come back on the show, and we're going to hear how you did it. And sure enough, he won that tournament this weekend, and he's gonna walk us through kind of what happened and what the Delta's fishing like right now, and we're going to hear how he got the win. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Pretty good,
Glad to
pretty
be back.
good. Hey, we said you were going to do it, and you did it, so we're here now, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. It was a nice weekend. I mean, had nice calm conditions. It set up kind of perfect for the punching technique, and that's pretty much how I did it. I punched every one of those fish, and they, they ate. I won. I won by the smallest of margins, but hey, a win's a win.
A win is a win, whether you win by an inch or a mile, right? That's what they say.
That is what they say. You take it however you can. Take it however you can get it, right?
An ounce or a pound, I guess, in this instance. But yeah, so for those guys that aren't familiar, what was the tournament trail that you've kind of been fishing this year and that event that you signed up for?
Yeah, it's pro teams put on by Vince Harris, Anglers Press. This was the TOC. It's a no entry fee TOC for 10 grand, and there was 21 qualifiers. So the odds obviously were pretty darn good. And yeah, I mean, they had it at the Delta, and that's was good for me. So he put on a good little tournament.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know you had been out there for kind of a while beforehand. What had the Delta kind of been looking like? Maybe the last month or so. I know there was like a little off limits and stuff like that, but kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. He had a 2 day off limits, Monday, Tuesday, and pre-fish Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the tournament obviously on the weekend. But yeah, I had been out there quite a bit, just trying to nail down, everything. There's so many types of grass in the Delta, and I was trying to figure out tide wise, of course, and what type of grass I really wanted to target. Whether hydrilla, elodea grass, whatever, the primrose, whatever, and I kind of narrowed it down pretty well, and got some big ones to eat, especially on day two. Day two, I really got some good ones to eat. Had a good bag, almost right at 23 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be kind of the name of the game lately. I feel like a lot of those Delta tournaments, if you could kind of hop in that like 20, 22-ish range a day or on the final day, like you said, I mean, that can definitely be the ticket. I know there was an event that was just out there. I can't think of the name of it, but
Yeah, the Super 60.
Super 60, yeah, 'cause what was it? Bryant Smith, I think, won that one.
Yeah, he did. There were some really good bags in that tournament. It was kind of like, you either on them or you weren't, because there was a lot of really good fishermen that didn't do well. And then there was other guys like, Brian Smith, Ken Baugh, who always does good out there. But, there's Zach Thompson, some guys that really, really did well all 3 days, and they were, I'm sure a lot of those guys, well, a lot of the videos I watch, a lot of those guys were also, punching mats, various grass and whatnot when I was kind of watching it. So that was the technique that, propelled those guys to the winner's circle as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be more and more of a trend lately. I feel like that the punching's always been a big deal, but it seems more and more now that is the deal for sure.
Especially this time of year. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. This time of year, it's a big deal. You've got, I was targeting like the blow-in grass is what I call it. I mean, this time of year, the water temperatures drop. We had that storm a week and a half ago. It cooled the temps down like 9 degrees. And the grass starts to die off, and then it floats around a lot. It goes around, moves around with the current and the wind, right? And what it does is it just blows through the system, and it runs into the tules, it runs into things, and it packs up, and it creates a really good mat. And those are the mats I was targeting. That at incoming water at high tide, and then at low tide I was fishing the Eladia grass in 4 or 5 different areas that I found some really good thick clumps of that. Um, and so I kind of had a 1-2 punch. That at low tide, and then that blowing grass at high tide or incoming. I tried the hyacinth and the other stuff, but I couldn't catch any sizable fish out of it. For me, it wasn't working for me, so I kind of backed off that and stuck with what was working, obviously.
Yeah, I know that you like to keep your options open, especially pre-fish and kind of run around the delta. Did you see anything specific as far as like when you were moving around doing your pre-fishing and whatnot? Like did I don't know, like what the whole delta kind of looked like. I don't know if you felt like you needed to run or if you kind of just kind of locked yourself down in just a couple areas.
Well, I did do pretty well in practice up north, but and then on day one I did run up north, Lindsay Slough, up in that area, and unfortunately that didn't pan out. So I kind of burned about 2.5 hours of my day one up there, and when I came back into the track and around B and W and other places, Central Delta, Mandeville, those types of places, that's when I started catching the better fish. And I think, in hindsight, I mean, if I would have not ran up there, I think I would have had a bigger bag on day one. I had a 16 and 1629 on day one, and then I came back with the big bag on day two. It was a 2293, I think it was. But yeah, I mean, it's but I had caught big fish up there in practice, so I figure I got to go, and they just didn't bite, so I got the heck out of there, came back down, and it all worked out.
Yeah, talk about the field a little bit. What did you notice like with the weights? I know it was kind of a smaller field. I don't know if everyone kind of seemed to at least get their limits and whatnot, or if I know in the Delta especially, a lot of times we'll see like a lot of the field really struggles, and then top 5 guys or so are kind of getting them. Does that kind of seem this time?
Yeah, it's well, you had Ish Monroe, he was fishing it, and he had 14, and I think on day one he had 14. I think he had either 12 or 11 on day two or something. So he was in a different area of the Delta, I would assume. I didn't ask him where he was, but yeah, there was a lot of good Delta guys there. Juan Acosta, Hunter Slander, Mark Lassane. He ended up getting second. I believe Xavier. I don't know his last name's not coming right. He was leading on day one with 20.
I think Xavier Green, I think is his name.
Yeah. He was leading on day one with 20. So I knew I was 3.5 pounds out of it. So, and I was in fifth after day one. So I thought, I'm just going to have to stay down and not go up north, and because it didn't pound on day one. So I tried a couple different areas um, in the same vicinity, which one of them actually panned out. I got a 6.5 pounder. But the punching was the deal. I was punching them on a red tomato D bomb. I had a ounce and a quarter weight, an ounce and a half, a 2 ounce, and an ounce. So I had 4 punch rods rigged up. So I was pretty much all in on the punch deal. And and I caught fish on chatter baits, glide baits, other baits, just not the size. I mean, they were just 2 pounders. So I pretty much put those rods away and just focused on, what I thought was capable of winning the tournament. And it worked out.
No, for sure. I mean, I know from fishing with you, you definitely have the punching technique dialed in for sure. And I feel like the tournaments where you're super dialed in, like you said. I mean, you only had 4 rods on the deck, and I think that's a common trend that you hear from people that win is they have it dialed in. They have it exactly how they need to have it.
Yeah, you had everything was lined up, I mean, you had flat calm conditions, you had hot sun, it was 80 degrees. Um, and you had the incoming water, which was perfect for the area I was fishing. So all I needed was the bites, right? And I knew they were there. It was just a matter of presenting the bait in there and getting them to eat. A lot of times when I was punching in there, and this has happened over the years many times when that water gets clear this time of year, the fish were actually spooking out from under the mats when you would punch in there. The weight or just the bait coming in would spook them on occasion. It didn't happen all the time, but the also I noticed it happened 5, 6 times. I would punch in, I'd see the tulies move, and I would just set the hook. I didn't feel the bite. I would just see the tulies move. I knew obviously something was coming toward my bait, and there was so much grass you didn't really feel much. You would just set the hook, and he would be there. But Vince put on a good tournament. I mean, you don't really have any TOCs these days that you can, no entry fee and fish for 10 grand against 20 guys. So, and it was on the Delta, which of course is, good for me. Next year, I believe it's on the Delta again. So I'm going to probably fish his 3 events and hopefully qualify and get another shot at it.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan to me. How did the payouts look as far as like throughout the field and what you were able to leave with and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, so it's winner take all more or less. So there's a 220 option for fourth through fifth, or second through fifth, and that's the payout. There is just a 1 through 5 that the first place gets the 10 grand, and then the option money's paid out second through fifth, and then there's a big fish pot as well. I think there was an 8 and a quarter, eight and some change that won that. But second place was $1,000. So large drop off from my 10 grand to the 1,000. So I was kind of hoping, fingers crossed, that I wasn't going to land up second, but thankfully I didn't, and everything worked out.
And this was a team event, right?
Yes, it was a team event. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we really have anything big left out there this year. Do you know, tournament wise, or was that kind of the last one?
No, no, not to my knowledge. Well, there is the Super 60 BAM Super 60 TOC at Clear Lake next month. But that would be that'd be the only thing I could think of. The U.S. Open is done, and all those other tournaments. Yeah.
Nice. And then with that punching bite, I know you mentioned the incoming water. Do you feel like you need like a certain amount of water to like come in before you were kind of hitting those areas, or do you feel like it was more just like once that switch happened, that was more of what you were looking for?
Yeah, you needed it to fill in a little bit because there was a lot of grass, and you needed some water because you really couldn't access the mats quietly. I guess would be the term. You couldn't really get in because of all the vegetation that this that's below the surface. So once you get a little bit of water in there, and you can kind of get in there a little quieter and get next to those mats. I was just, like I say, waiting for the tide to come up, and that's this particular area is sets up for incoming water. It always has over all the years. It's just a good the way the tide hits it. When the tide's going out, it's not anywhere near it. It's not near as effective when the tide is going out. And like I say, you get that blow-in grass, and it's like midnight under those mats, and they're they're definitely under there, and you just got to keep punching. It wasn't rapid fire by any means. You had to work for them. And I did lose one on day one that would have probably given me another pound and a half. But I was hoping that wasn't going to haunt me, and luckily it didn't. But I know that Mark Lassane said he lost 2 on day one as well. So, and that's all part of the game, especially when you're punching heavy cover. it doesn't. It's there's it's rough in there. It's a combat zone. You got to try and get a 6, 7, 8 pounder out of there. And actually, on one of the 6.5s I caught, we just netted the whole mat, grass, and everything. Couldn't even see the fish. We just netted them, threw them in the boat, and then started opening the Christmas present, kind of,
Yeah,
tearing the grass apart.
sounds like a
And
nice
there's a
surprise to me.
right, there's a great big head there. All right, this is a good one, but yeah, no. Philip Dutra turned me on to a new punch hook, the BKK heavy cover hook, which I was using, which I really like. Um, and that's just using 65-pound braid and an 8 foot punch rod, and you got to be able to read the grass. It's especially when you're fishing the Eladia grass at low tide. You got to be able to look at it, look for the clumps, and they don't. All around the clump there may be submergent grass that's the same grass, but they won't. I'm not going to say they won't sit in the submergent grass, the water that's covered, but typically you want to punch the matted part of it. That's what you want to do. You want to just keep punching everything that's above the surface that's matted over, because 99% of the time that's where they're at. I don't know why they're not in this. Why they don't bite in the submergent stuff, for me anyway. But I just kind of go with what works, and if it keeps working, I keep punching it. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's that.
it seems like you figured it out this time, so got to keep doing whatever you're doing is working.
Yeah, I went up and down actually, which I don't typically do. There was one stretch that was about 150 yards of really good Eladia that was above the surface and matted, and I think I went up and down it like 4 times, and I kept catching fish, because they're moving all around on those mats, and I got two 3.5 to 3 3/4 pounders out of that mat, along with maybe 6 or 8 other 2 pounders or keeper fish, and which obviously we threw back, but it was productive, and the whole time I was just waiting for the tide to come in, so I was kind of catching fish and killing time, kind of at the same deal. I was being productive, and waiting for my other spot to be productive. So it was actually worked out very well. So.
Well, that's awesome, man. I mean, we appreciate you giving us a little recap into what happened, and I know that I guess you got to start just coming on the podcast for all your tournaments, so we can give you good luck, and you can come back on and tell us about how you won after.
Oh yeah, 100%. Let's. I got the Pro-Am coming up here at Shasta in January. Let's hope we can get back on and do some damage up there. I like fishing Shasta. It's it's obviously a complete 180 from the Delta, but yeah, we'll try and do good, man. That's all we can do.
For sure. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Mark, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, bye. All right, just wrapped up the podcast with Mark. It's cool to just get a little recap, hear about how he caught some of those fish, and just kind of the overall vibe of the tournament. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I've spent quite a bit of time getting to know him and fishing with him in the boat and whatnot, and it's interesting. Like, I feel like a lot of the same guys win a lot of these Delta tournaments, and there's a lot of like really legitimate anglers that fish the Delta that kind of pop up out of nowhere. And it's not that Mark is not a known guy, because he's been fishing tournaments a really long time, but he's one of those guys where I think he's in the standings, and then all of a sudden he's popping up to the top, and maybe not everybody knows who he is or whatnot. And I mean, he's a legitimately good angler, and I think any of these tournaments in general, and any of these Delta tournaments, he has a legitimate chance to win. It's just about, I don't care who you are. I think the stars have to align a little bit in order to win one of these events, especially when you're fishing against so many skilled guys, and so many guys that just have so much experience out here on the water. So I couldn't be happy for him. I know he's super stoked about the whole thing, so that's awesome. And hopefully he'll win something again soon. We get him on the podcast and hear how he did it. And I'm sure he will be back soon enough. So if you guys like the episode, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.